Hey, me again. So, I had asked myself, what about another video? And originally, conversation was kind of like this. Another video? I, I only made the first one to get my message out. And I specifically said, I'm not any kind of personality on the webs, internet, whatever. I'm not looking for an audience. I just needed the message to get out. There's gonna be another video. It's gonna have to be an urgent message like the first one was. Well, that makes sense, but I don't have anything else necessarily to say. But I did have another couple of thoughts, but didn't seem like it was enough to bring up yet. And then I have subscribers? What? It's like, did you guys not catch the part where I said don't follow me and I don't like people? Now, I've only gotten like 800 views from the last video and it's only 10 subscribers. So it's like, what's that? That's nothing. But you misunderstand. I told you I've been in customer service most of my life. And now I have subscribers. It may not supposed to be, and it may not seem like it to anybody else, but I feel responsible for earning the subscriptions. I mean, if they're going to subscribe to me, then I might as well give them a reason to. Well, fine, now we're back to what in the world am I supposed to say for another video? Well, I only did a little bit about me, so I guess what I should start with is my actual testimony. Alright, well, okay, here we go. So, I was born at the very end of the 80s, 1979. I was born in Newport News, Virginia, and my younger brother was born in Hawaii. So that occurred because my biological father was a torpedo technician in the Navy. And it was just after my parents broke up when I was, I want to say 6, and my younger brother was 4, that we went to Florida, and that's where we were staying at my grandmother's house. And that was the house that I saw a demon push over a trash can. It was also while we were staying there that my mom met the man who raised me. And she later acknowledged that the reason that she married him is because her boys needed a father. Well, she wasn't entirely wrong. Well, no, honestly, she was right. And while there were issues, let's call it emotional abuse, he was a Christian, and it is through him that I got my grounding in biblical principles. I also took his example as a whole lot of what not to do. He was a self-proclaimed prophet. So I'm not really a preacher's kid, but he saw himself as a preacher. And he was fairly convinced that he was the only one that had the correct interpretation. You argue with him, he's gonna shut you down. He's not one for listening. And that's That's how I was trained to deal with people, and it's kind of where I ended up having a distrust of authority in general. Through most of the 80s, I went to the Walt Disney World complex more than not. We treated it like a country club. I was there all the time. Back before Mickey's Starland was originally Mickey's Birthday Land, and before that ever got made. That brings us to the 90s. 90s are pretty much where I had high school, early 90s. And that is where I became more cognizant of the outside world. I became more convinced of my own faith and discovered Rush Limbaugh. Therefore, becoming what was referred to as a ditto head. Let's see. Graduated high school with a .5. Yeah, 0.5 GPA. After my parents split and I was living with my mom, I ended up dropping out halfway through my senior year so that I could work full-time to support my brother and I. Mom was off being a truck driver, trying to support us. I guess you could call these my backslidden years. I still believed in God, just didn't really let it affect me terribly much. You know, the whole I'm a good enough person lie. I was engaged 5 times to 4 different women. The 4th one I was engaged to twice, and she ended up actually being my wife and the mother of all 5 of my children. Only woman I've ever been married to, and we were married until she passed in January of last year. I'm okay. Yeah, at least that's what I tell myself anyway. Moving on. As a kid, I grew up listening to Jack Hayford and Rodney Howard Brown, went to a Rodney Howard Brown revival meeting a couple of times. Grew up listening to Kenneth Copeland, Frederick K.C. Price, Creflo Dollar, that group, that era. And when I say grew up listening to them, my dad got us kicked out of church so often that was our church. We would literally spend 3 hours every Sunday listening to TV evangelists. And in high school, before my parents split up, it got to 30 minutes to even a full hour of televangelists before school every morning. I learned, I absorbed, didn't pay terribly much attention. It was, I don't know. In high school, I learned things very, very quickly, and therefore stopped paying attention quickly as well. This was back when at that time it was still ADD was just starting to get popular. In high school, I was the geek / dork that anybody in school could identify. I was more well known than I knew of other people. And it wasn't generally for good reasons. I was very much socially awkward and just the biggest freaking Star Trek band and chess nerd. This is another reason that I wanted to start with my testimony is to try and warn you people that Didn't listen. Yeah, I'm rough around the edges, and I am an absolute nerd. I think I got a decent sense of humor. I love picking on my kids, but you just be fully aware of what it is that you're following. I'm not interested in putting up any false pretenses. I've always been Christian. I've never resented being Christian, but I resented my dad for a long time, to the point where he got dementia, and I couldn't bring myself to care. And it was actually my wife who went to Florida to get him and bring him to Iowa so that we could take care of him. And we were gonna take care of him. And I came to peace with understanding that I was never gonna get closure. I was never gonna be able to set him straight. And when he passed, I never fully felt a need to mourn. I can't say that I miss him. I can say that I've forgiven him. I can say that despite what was wrong, I'm grateful that he was in my life. Because for everything else that he did, he put Jesus first. Even at the end. Even when he really had lost touch with the world and was using sandwiches as phones, the nurses told me that he was constantly talking about Jesus. And this is where I came to understand that the Bible's kind of full of this, that he uses the broken and the unworthy. And so I had to come to grips with, even though he had said, "Thus saith the Lord," and been just completely wildly wrong, that didn't take away from the fact that God uses him. It's not always right, but nobody ever is. Honey, I'm a little bit busy. I'll give you attention later. My cat Peggy's coming up making noises. Sorry. Well, fresh out of high school, I bounced around from couch to couch, working at whatever job I had and just floating around friends' houses. I had an apartment of my own for a little while, but ended up losing my apartment and my vehicle and my job almost all at the same time. So I moved to Virginia, moved in with my mom and her brand new baby boy, my youngest brother. And shortly after that, because I had absolutely no direction of any kind, I joined the military. I joined the Army. I spent 11 months guarding a locked, unused door for 12 hours a night on something called Fire Guard. This is because I was a medical holdover and had lateral meniscus injuries in my right knee that were prior existing. I never should have been let in, but oh well. Got out of the military, and that is when Jasmine, a girl that becomes my wife, tracks me down. And we start talking, and we end up getting together and getting married. Oh, inside of that little sentence, there is a period where she literally kicks me out, and I move to Virginia. Had no idea at the time, but turns out she was pregnant. That leads to 5 kids and a 20-year marriage. At the end of which, after she has passed and I'm cleaning out the house, because it turns out that, well, she was a borderline hoarder and I was a simp enabler. As I'm cleaning things out, I find a notebook, and turns out that in the beginning of our relationship, she cheated on me. That hurt. And I was mad for a little while, but 20 years and 5 beautiful children, I'm gonna call that a success, and I'm gonna let the skeletons lie. Doesn't do me or anybody else any good to hold that grudge. So, it is what it is. I forgave her. And moved on. That's pretty much my story. I do have a thought that I think is worth sharing. And that is, one of the ways that I've taken a step towards my own advice to make that change and to confront the lies where I find them has been in changing my own attitude as a keyboard warrior. Excuse me. I'll admit I am guilty of being downright mean and nasty on the internet. Yes. But after Charlie Kirk's death, there's been a huge shift. I'm not interested in necessarily trying to prove anything. I'm simply coming against the lies and speaking the truth. I don't expect to convince them of the truth. I'm simply taking the opportunity to speak the truth. So when other people read the comments, they can see the truth, even if they still see the lie. So the point isn't convincing anymore. Not that it was ever really an option to begin with, but whatever. And then, most recently, as in with the last 24 hours, I've had another realization and shift of heart, and this is the point I'm actually getting to. It has everything to do with the people that leave inappropriate or rude comments on posts where people are mourning or discussing Charlie Kirk. These people that are doing this are positioning themselves as our enemy. Okay? Well, the Bible says that we are to love our enemy and to pray for those who spitefully use us. I'm assuming the love and pray for is not explicit to what it was attached to, that they both get both, meaning those people that are leaving those emojis and those horrible comments, they are the vanguard of the enemy. So they are the first in line asking for prayer. So what I do now is when somebody leaves a comment, I thank them for speaking up, and I ask them, is there anything else that you need prayer for? And their response guides how I pray for them. They just come back with nastiness. All right, I'm going to pray for your heart. If they come back with what they think is proof of their point, all right, cool. I'm going to pray that you receive wisdom and that your eyes are opened up to the truth. like I said, they're the vanguard of the enemy. And if the whole point is we're supposed to love and pray for our enemies, then they're the first in line. Don't be mean. Don't be rude. Don't tell them off. Say thank you. I'm going to pray for you. Is there anything other than just a general prayer that you need? Is there anything I can pray over for you? And then I pray for them by name. I got their name right there. You click on the emoji, and you can see a whole list of the people that leave each type of emoji. Or I got their name on the inappropriate post, so I pray for them by name. Now, I do it out loud where I am, but you can just as easily do it in your heart. You can just as easily do it right there in the comment section. What are they going to do? Get blessed? This is important, I think, enough to go ahead and say something, but it wouldn't have been enough for me to actually bother if y'all hadn't turned around and made me a liar. I got followers, I got subscribers. Oh, okay. All right, calm down. Okay. Praise you, Jesus. He loved us so much that he laid down his life. I think I can find out a way to love others enough to lay down my pride. I'm Mike. Just thought you should know who it is you've subscribed to and give you fair warning of who it is you've subscribed to. I love you guys. Bye.